Oh, hey Marjorie.
Hi, how are you, Brian? Good to see you.
So I am Brian Jessen, Senior Vice President of Guaranteed Rate. Been in this industry a long time. And Marjorie and I are going to talk about first-time home buyers, how to get properly prepared for when you're thinking of searching for a property. And then obviously the two of us can chime in.
Absolutely.
Each other what we want to talk about.
And I'm Marjorie Allabastro, real estate broker with Baird and Warner. So, Brian, we've worked with a lot of home buyers together that were first-time home buyers.
Absolutely.
And we work really well together because one of the things I think we do well is really work hard on getting people pre-approved up front and setting expectations. So, what are your favorite things to do when you work with a new home buyer?
So one of the things, like Marjorie said, was to get things set up properly. So Marjorie has a conversation, she kind of frames what the proper order is to kind of get things successful, and then when I'm nice and then people are nice enough to send me a client, if it's a first-time home buyer, you have to make sure you don't make assumptions because we're used to doing this every day. Marjorie sells a lot of real estate, I write a lot of mortgages, but when you do it all the time, you sort of get used to all the jargon, so to speak, in our industry. So you make sure you break this down to somebody who understands it. So first thing you do is I get to understand what they're doing, why they want to move, what they're trying to accomplish in their move, where they think they want to move. Then it would be things like, you're renting now, you're living at home, what's your situation, find out about what income they do, what they do for a living, how much money they spend on rent now, how much they're willing to spend for the new property, and then what debts they have, student loans, credit cards, and then savings. If they have savings, if they have money for down payment, where is it coming from?
Yeah, and a lot of parents are contributing now too,
Correct.
so you can get gifts and things like that people are
Correct. So a
about,
lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, a lot of aunts and uncles helping. So it could be gifting from family members. It could be money taken out of your savings accounts, checking accounts. It could be money taken out of your retirement accounts.
Yep.
Because you can take money out of your 401k or IRA without tax consequences as a first-time home buyer. So there's some real advantages to that.
And I know Guaranteed Rate has had some really good programs with first-time home buyers that we've been able to use. There are a couple of programs that are like citywide, like the IDA loan program or the IDA grant program for first-time home buyers. Those can be a little more paperwork and some time included, but I know Guaranteed Rate has had some really great lower money down, but get still a really good rates to get people into properties that they don't have to put the 20% down that everybody has in their head that they think they have to do.
And they might have good income, so there could be one or a couple that are working and the individual's income and the joint income is good.
Yeah.
So their cash flow is good, they just don't have a lot of money in savings. So we have programs where you can put 3% down of the purchase price, even the money you need for like the closing costs. If you need any money sort of in reserves, can come from gifts from family members. So if you're buying a $250,000 condo, you could get into that condo with $7,500 of savings and then some money either in retirement you show as reserves or gifting from family members, things like that. So people do have a misconception, especially if they're relying on an older family member, a mom, a dad, a grandma, grandpa that are used to, oh my gosh, you got to put 20% down. If you don't put 20% down, I don't even know how you do that. And we explained it very clearly what the programs are. Again, it's an initial conversation. I'm not trying to overwhelm the person. And another thing that's very, very important is, yes, you can go to Credit Karma and check your credit. Yes, you can go on to annualcreditreport.com, no offense to freecreditreport.com, but not freecreditreport.com because they spam you and they start sending a lot of information. Annualcreditreport.com does not. So you can get all three of your scores, and that's more accurately aligned to what a mortgage lender is. So,
that's good information.
Well, one thing you need to realize is, and you probably did this too, if you ask them, like, oh, I have really good credit. I've got my Discover card, and the statement says I have an 800 credit score. So the thing is about a credit card company score, it's not as comprehensive as a mortgage company's, looking at all three bureaus, looking at a whole mix of your credit. So when we do the pre-approval process, it's a full approval. We look at your income, we look at your assets, and on the credit, 67% of people have an inaccuracy on their credit report, either major or minor that they're not aware of.
Wow.
So 2/3.
Yeah.
2/3 of people. So we're looking at that credit report. We send a copy of it to you, password protected, so that you see it, and then we go through it with you. And it could be just fine, but if there's issues, we look at what those issues are. And if it's something fixable, like you can pay down your credit card a little bit and get that credit score better, we have something called credit modeling, and that's not like a beautiful model, modeling in front of you, though that doesn't sound bad.
With a beautiful credit score, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, credit score can be beautiful in the world of our world. So we can actually show you if you do X and Y, you have a collection that's not been paid, or you have
or being misreported,
right. Or you have a balance that's a little bit too high, but if you're able to pay it down to a certain level, usually the best is 30% usage or under. So if you have like a $10,000 limit on your credit card, you want to be at $3,000 or under. So sometimes you can get some of your credit stuff paid down, and we can tell you what your credit score is going to be for free, just if you do these couple of things.
And what's the target credit score we want for our first-time home buyers to think in a range? I know because
it sounds like it's hard to know when you don't know the range, but it's from the low 300s to like 850, and 850 is really, I've never seen
perfect,
850.
yeah.
So it's really more in the range of like 600 to like 740, 760. I mean, to get the absolute best interest rates, I'd say 740, 760. But there's programs, and again, when you get a hold of me, and we'll give all that information to Dan, or get a hold of Marjorie, we can go through some of those programs without getting too wonky on this. And there's FHA. If you're a veteran, VA is probably the absolute best program for sure. Or there's something called Give to You, where we actually, if you qualify for this program, you get 2% of the purchase price.
Towards that's
up to $7,500 towards either more down payment or towards helping your closing costs. And then, like you said, there's the State of Illinois IDA program. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that because it's very paperwork intensive and the interest rate on the program isn't all that attractive. But there's City of Chicago program, so we have this huge matrix of these programs.
Opportunities.
Without like boring you, once we have your pre-approval in process and we have your credit, we can eliminate the ones that don't apply. If you make too much money, some of them don't apply. If you're not looking at certain targeted census tracts around, doesn't apply. So we kind of get it down to a manageable list and then go over those options with you. So it's very exciting to work with first-time home buyers.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really exciting now in the market that I'm seeing as a realtor as well is we're seeing the market shift, at least in the city in certain areas, from what has been, I mean, at least for the last 5 to 7 years, 5 years, in certain areas, a seller's market. Now we're really moving into a more even market and potentially a buyer's market. So for first-time home buyers, where it felt like maybe it was a little bit more of a reach, things are coming down in price, especially at this time of the year, because if it hasn't sold by summer, then usually it means that something's overpriced if it's been sitting on there for 30 days or more. So we're starting to see pricing come down to more realistic levels, which also means with maybe some less money down, if we do a 3% down, that you may be able to attain that property. And with what everybody's paying in rent right now, it's incredible the property you could get. And if what you're thinking is, well, I've got a big rent payment, I've got my student loans, I don't have the money down, if you can translate that in your overall monthly, cost, what you're buying, usually a lot of first-time home buyers do want a condo, especially in the city. If you can translate that into what your mortgage looks like, what your condo assessment is, plus taxes, you will find you could buy a lot more probably than you are renting at, square footage wise, even finishes. And a lot of our neighborhoods are really waiting for these buyers to come out and start picking up some of these properties that have started to sit a little bit this year.
And a lot of, when you get the appraisals back, almost all of my appraisals this year for purchases have come in at purchase price or above.
Wow.
I haven't had, knock on wood, one single one for a purchase coming under the purchase price. So that shows that buyers are getting a good deal. And if you actually tried to build that condo nowadays,
you
for what you're getting purchasing a resale on, it's a very, very good deal.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I think once you look at even if you're talking about being in a condo, because I think sometimes with first-time home buyers, another holdback is where am I going to be in 3 years? Like, well, it's easy if I'm renting because I can shift around and all of that. But actually, with buying, when you rent, that money is gone. You get no return on it. You pay rent, and the landlord sees the return. When you buy, you do get that benefit of, within 2 to 3 years, you're seeing yourself build some equity. You're seeing those tax breaks that you get from your interest and from your tax payments. And you are going to see that money back when you do go and sell it, or at least more.
And when you do your taxes.
Oh, absolutely. Every year you have
Right.
an annual basis.
And then for us, you're required to keep it as your primary home for the first year only. So even if you were going to move within 2 years, 3 years, I have a thing to show people. If Marjorie tells me, look at this property, whether it's single family condo, townhouse, multi-unit property, here's what the market rent would be. And a really good chart that was sent to me by an investment person the other day shows from 2010 to now what rents are doing. And especially from like 2012 on, it's been about 3 to 4% increase every year in rent. So if you look at this over a 10-year period, your rent's going to be going up 40, 50%. With a 3 to 4% increase because it's kind of compounding. So that's one thing that's telling. And then just to show people, okay, if Marjorie tells me what that could rent for, if you do move to Texas or to Tennessee or California or to Massachusetts or Minnesota or whatever for a new job opportunity, you put a relatively low amount down. That payment's going to stay constant. It's a fixed 30-year mortgage. So part of that's principal and interest is never going to change.
Right.
So even though taxes will change a little bit, association dues will change a little bit, the biggest part of your payment is never changing. And what you're able to charge your rent will go up most every year. And so we can show you, based on the money you put down, factor in closing costs, and we assume zero appreciation. So we take that whole discussion of how much is my place going to go up, and we show you rate of return. And it varies by neighborhood, it varies by what you buy it for, and so on. But generally speaking, the rate of return is around 8 to 12%. So if you're looking at your financials and you're like, okay, I've got some student debt I'm paying down, I'm putting some money in my company's 401k plan, I'm trying to save some money for vacation, things like that. Well, one of the things that's in your portfolio is your real estate. So if you look at it and say, with no appreciation, I can get 8, 9, 10%. Because I'm getting some of my money back to me in the loan being paid down. So building up equity.
It's forced savings.
It's forced savings. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to make your mortgage payment on time. So that's one of our requirements. Is to actually pay your mortgage. It's crazy. I know. Pay your bills. Oh my God. But it really shows people that, hey, you know what? You do have flexibility. You can move around. You can build up a real estate portfolio in a couple different places. It doesn't have to be just Chicagoland if you get transferred to Charlotte, North Carolina, or South Carolina. Is it North Carolina? North Carolina. You could buy something there too, because if you've got a little bit more money saved, you can buy something else for a very low.
And I have a lot of buyers, even first-time home buyers, that they're wanting to know about the condo rules. Can this be rented if in X number of years I decide to move on and I want to hang on to it as an investment property and rent it out? And we can vet that pretty early, very early on the properties that will allow rentals and have. We have what's called a rental cap at properties, and that's usually the percentage of the number of properties in the condominium building that can be rented. And with a single family home, there's no restriction. But say 30% of the units can be rented, then we may have it's at 20%, so we know in the future you would be able to rent it. And then people will buy based on that, knowing, 3 to 5 years down the line, I'm moving, but I don't want to sell. I want to hang on to it, and I want that rental income to pay down that mortgage, and the equity portion that is paid down by that rental income can be significant over time.
And it's nice that it doesn't really matter what the market's doing, right? If it's going up, great. If it's flat at that point, fine. If it's declining a little bit, you're keeping it. Just like some investments you would have, like in your 401k, you're keeping that for the long term. So you're building that up. Even if you take a withdrawal for your down payment, what's left in there is still growing. And when you take a disbursement from the 401k or take a loan against a 401k, that debt isn't counted against you as far as how we look at it, because effectively you're paying yourself back. If you take a loan against your 401k, whatever interest they're charging you on your money, that money actually goes back into your account and the interest goes back into your account. So again, even though you're taking money out, you might lose some of the market movement, but you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself a return because the money's getting returned by you paying it back every month and whatever the interest rate. If you just flat out take the disbursement, that's okay too, because again, you're taking it from one investment, 401k, and put it into real estate. So there's different ways to do that, and we'll work through those with people very, clearly. If you have questions, ask them. Me and my team, we really want you to be happy. I went to a first-time home buyers closing yesterday, and was very interesting about it because the first property they liked had rental restriction, very severe rental restriction on it, and had a portion that was only for low to moderate income borrowers, so it limited the marketability of some of the units. So even though he liked the unit, it was really torn. The person that was selling it had 5 or 6 offers fall through. So you knew there was a problem with this project as far as resale. So he eventually let his emotions get a little bit out of the way, let that one go, bought another property. We closed yesterday. He was so happy. And so happy that the advice he got from his realtor, advice he got from me, and even his real estate attorney was like, you know what, this first property, there's so many red flags. Just let's walk away from this one. It's okay. Let's buy another property. And he was so much happier.
That's good.
He was like, obviously he'll be able to rent it if he needs to rent it, if he ever changes jobs or moves. And he's like, I'm so glad you guys were there for me to give me that advice, because I was letting my emotion kind of just liked it. It was my first property that I'd liked. So I sort of was like into it, but then actually when I walked away from that one and now I was showing another one, and really, he goes, I'm so much happier. And then from his realtor standpoint, if he does go to sell it someday, or goes to rent it, it's going to be a much more marketable property.
Well, I think that's a great story, and that's a real success for that buyer, and that's great that you guys were able to help them through it. I mean, I think it also speaks to the fact that at the beginning, you want to pick the right team. You want a mortgage broker that has your back and is going to be able to help you with all the pre-work so that you make sure that you know what you can buy and you're ready to go. And you want a seasoned realtor. You want, I know there are some firms now that are kind of more door openers, but unless you have that experienced team that's going to help you, because you're going to be a little emotional, especially it's probably the biggest investment in your life as a first-time buyer. You want people that have been through this experience before and have your back. So probably the biggest thing, we talk about pre-approval, but finding the people that are going to be on your side and on your team and help you make the right investment, that are going to be looking for those items that maybe you haven't thought of yet, because this is what we do for a living.
Well, I'll give you an example, one specific to Marjorie. So there was a client of mine who lived in Logan Square. They wanted to move to sort of Avondale, Wicker Park area of Chicago. And, they weren't sure which areas, which streets, and Marjorie, as the local expert, knew specifically once she got to know them, what would be really appropriate properties for them to do and why they'd be good properties and so on. And you can't get that kind of experience and knowledge just by somebody that says, you can go see properties. Here's the access code to get into them. You have no feedback for why you want this versus this, and what's going on in the neighborhood, what's trending, what's popular, what's coming up maybe over the next 5 to 10 years that you need to be aware of. And you can't
personal goals.
And you can't get that from that. So I'm not trying to specifically slam that, but the experienced person that knows what neighborhoods and the areas that they're working and is an expert on that will come back to you 5 or 10-fold than somebody that either one doesn't know the area, or two is simply just a door opener, as you said. So, and also same thing with us. If we're doing your pre-approval, if you truly don't qualify, right now, we'll tell you don't, but why, and here's what you need to do to get there, whether it's 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now. If your credit is horrific, it doesn't mean you never can buy a place, but let's get that worked out, what you need to do. I have a credit repair company that I specifically refer to. I get nothing from it other than my clients get good service. And it actually allows you, when you sign up with them, you actually get text updates on what's going on with items that have been disputed and removed. You can go online and see the negative items, how many have been removed. I actually get notices of that too, and usually that company will come back to me and say, okay, Brian, I think their credit's good enough now, enough things have been fixed, with the client's permission, get the credit updated.
Yeah.
And suddenly you go from somebody who has like a 520 credit score that, oh my gosh, now you're at 680.
Yeah.
Not only can you buy a home, but the pricing and the interest rate will be so much lower because we actually were able to manage that bad credit and
Yeah.
get it to a spot where you need it. Now you do have to pay them a fee. They're not for profit, but they also won't take cases that don't make sense. Like, that's only one negative entry. You can call them and get this, and you can take care of it yourself. You don't need to pay me to do this.
Yeah.
And I like that honesty and transparency that will give them advice because they know, hey, it's one little item, but they know if somebody has issues in the future, they'll refer them to them.
Well, the thing that's nice about that too is even if they tell you this isn't the right time to buy, this is a really good personal homework to be doing because for buying a car, if you're getting a loan or any other type of loan products, this is a really good, healthy way to approach your finances and make sure that you have everything corrected and that your credit score and that your credit files are looking good.
Yeah, I mean, you can get an auto loan rate that's 4% instead of 8%.
Yeah.
Or you could refinance your student loans and combine them together and get a better rate with that because your credit's better. If you have a credit card and they have offers, maybe those credit card interest rates, if you have to carry balances, are way less because you have better credit. So that helps you, not, like you said, not just for real estate, but just in your financial life.
And it's a good idea to plan, and that's why sometimes it's not come to get your pre-approval. If it all works and you want to buy a place, you get your pre-approval, you work with an agent, we select, but we also eliminate what isn't going to work for you, and we find you that right property. But it also is a process, so if it isn't exactly the right moment, we can look 3, 6, even 12 months ahead. And I think we've worked with people even probably 18 months or 2 years ahead of time, and then they come back and they buy when they're ready.
And it's such well organized, and they're so well prepared for doing that. I think that's just great. I mean, that they're, and also too, it just helps give you a total picture of kind of where you are.
Yeah.
And how close are you to what you want to be. And one thing that's nice about pre-approvals is, number one, people, yes, there's some documents you get it, but literally we can turn around in a day. So if you get those documents, you file the list of what we need, and I know you can get a lot of stuff and you send it up through our portal, secure portal. We look at it and have it done either the same day or the next day.
Yeah.
As far as getting pre-approved. So if you are eligible for that, this isn't a long, lengthy process.
Nope.
It's going to take weeks. You literally can follow the path. You can apply on my website online. It's rate.com/Brian Jessen. And then you go into the thing, you go apply now. There's a drop-down menu for pre-approval. You fill out the form, you run your credit, we get notifications of it, and there's no expense to do it. So, and it's also valid for 4 months, and that same pre-approval with a few updated documents is good another 4 months after that.
And this is really a process where technology has absolutely benefited in the term that it used to take longer. Now, like you said, you can turn it around in a day. And sometimes with buying, speed is going to be the difference between you being turned down, maybe with a multiple offer, or you getting in there early and getting property locked
Or
down.
even getting a little bit better price. So if Marjorie's supporting your offer and they're like, wow, they don't have a place to sell, they've got this pre-approval, this is a very reputable company, a very reputable person that's done this, so we know. And on the pre-approval, we write income, assets, money for down payment and closing costs, and reserves have been verified. So when the listing agent gets that from Marjorie, they're looking at it going, wow, this is like a fully vetted out buyer. And so do we take this fully vetted out buyer or this other one that's got a letter from something that rhymes with Mace, and they haven't done anything. They talked to him on the phone for 5 minutes, and they send this letter, and there's like 18 stipulations on the letter, and that all of a sudden, if someone actually reads that letter, they go, wow, that person really isn't prepared.
Well, and everything counts in an offer. I mean, the price is important, the time to close, but even who is backing up that offer, what pre-approval you come to the table with, is all considered. If you're especially in a multiple, who is going to be easier to work with, or who has the reputation out there that they know if I accept this pre-approval,
we're going to close.
We're going to close, so that this has some has some validity behind it, and that's something we talk about with our clients too when we see. how we're preparing everything. We want to make sure you're in the best position to win an offer or be considered, because the other thing too is, like you said, bringing down price. Sometimes if you come with the strongest offer and you are backed by a really good mortgage company
And
that
you
they
can
know
close
they can work
quicker,
with,
too.
you can close quicker, and you can sometimes even get a little lower price because everything's considered in the negotiation. It's really a global picture. So it's something that we don't want to have to convince the seller to take an offer based on whose mortgage is writing on that offer. And sometimes in that case, we do have to go a little higher to
And we'll
convince
think of it
them.
from the seller's standpoint. So the seller's taking this property off the market, right? They're like, it could be the middle of the purchase season. Now we're sort of more towards the middle to the tail, not the tail end, but more past the middle of it. So they're taking this property off the market. They're relying on what that letter says and the realtor for the buyer that this is all going to work. And all of a sudden, if they get a notification 30, 45 days later, it's not going to work, it's really a big deal.
And it's costly to them. And that's, depending on where we are in the process, that could be a loss of earnest money, potentially. And that's something we don't want to risk for you. So we want to make sure that, although in most cases we do have mortgage contingencies and such, but still, we want to make sure we're putting the best offer out there and one that we know that we'll be able to follow up on. And you also, that's going to be a waste of time for a home buyer
And
as
just
well.
a positive experience. You want a positive experience for yourself. You want to walk out of that closing happy. You want the sellers to be happy. I mean, part of it is the whole feeling that it's just a really good transaction and lets you have a certain closing date, and we get it done because we've been pre-approved. We get it done way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey guys, you can move up the closing if you want to, because you want to get the floors done, you want to paint, whatever, and you're like, that'd be great. And the seller's like, oh, are you kidding me? That's great. We can sell it faster and earlier. It just changes the whole dynamic to a super positive feeling for everybody. Even if you don't change the closing date,
Sure.
just the feeling of the transaction is a very positive one. Both attorneys are happy, buyers and sellers are happy, both realtors are happy, and the whole experience is just a super positive one at closing.
Yeah.
So that's another benefit of having the pre-approval done, knowing you're approved, knowing the transaction is going to go well, and walking out of there going, gosh, I've heard all these nightmare stories from all these people, and it was a really good experience.
Yeah, it should be. And I think, too, with first-time home buyers, you also have deadlines, you have lease end dates, you have other things that we have to be cognizant of, and we want to make sure, like you said, the positive experience, but that we're also able to hit deadlines that matter to you as the first-time home buyer, and we make the whole process very seamless and very easy and successful.
Reduce the stress. Reduce
the stress. So I think we hit on a lot of really good topics
today. It's a little longer than we planned, but hopefully you found it informational. Please get a hold of Marjorie for kind of starting the process of discussions of what your goals might be in real estate. She can help extract some of those goals out of your conversation. And then if you talk to me, we can at least talk about getting the pre-approval, what that means, what documents we need. And again, for me, either you can call my cell or text my cell, which is 847-712-0830. Again, 847-712-0830. Or email me, very easy email. It's Brian, BRIAN, @rate, which is RATE.com. So Brian@rate.com. Call or text me. And then Marjorie.
Marjorie Allabastro at Baird & Warner. My phone number is 773-301-2993. That's 773-301-2993. And my email is, it's a long Italian name, but it's Marjorie at marjorieallabastro.com, which is MARJORIE at Marjorie Allabastro, ALLA, B as in boy, AS as in Sam, TRO.com. And we'd love to work with you. And I'll tell you too, I'm really bullish in the next year or so, maybe year or two, for what advantages buyers are going to have in this market, particularly in the city of Chicago. And so I think if you were thinking about it, this is a great time to really get serious and start the pre-approval process and start those conversations, because it's going to be an excellent time for buyers.
And it's not often you have reasonably prices and prices that have been reasonable and interest rates so good.
Oh, yeah.
So you get this great combination of a market where the buyers are starting to be a little bit more, either evenly weighted or maybe a little bit more in control, and interest rates that are within 0.5% of the 60-year lows of interest rates.
Which is still a really excellent economy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So all those things are positive. So please call us, text us. You get on my website. There's some hashtags for my Twitter, and we look forward to talking to you.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.